All right, cats, what's happening? Right then, for those of you that are interested in finance and how the world goes round, I don't mean all that technical stuff. I mean, why we're getting this ridiculous wealth gap. Well, yeah, I'll give you a little, for instance. The top 56 people in the UK own, you ready for this now, the equivalent of 27 million of the poorest. So 56 people own, 56 own the same amount as 27 million of the poorest. Something tells me something's gone wrong there. Has it not? Now, am I one for immediately rushing to silly conclusions and deciding that we need to take lots of money off the 56? No, I'm not. No. The 56, it comes to them in all different ways, doesn't it? I dare say in that 56 it includes some royalty. Oh, yes. Would I want to be royalty? Nah, I wouldn't now. Because the working royals, man, do they ever get a day off? It doesn't look like they do to me. But anyway, that's another thing, isn't it? So we have royalty. We have inherited wealth, of which there is a fair old bit. And we have those billionaires that have basically created different sorts of companies, different sorts of businesses. And they've earned this huge amount. Shall I use the word earned or should I say accumulated? Because I know plenty of lads that have worked and still do work 6 and 7 days a week, and I've done for 30 or 40 years, and have still barely got enough to go on holiday once a year. But aren't most of us like that? I think we are. So this wealth thing, yeah, the 56. I would still, to me, it's almost like a lottery win. That's what it looks like to me, because it's still right place, right time, right thought process, isn't it? You know, all these things have to come together for something to work, you know, and a lot of them will admit to it, and a lot of them just seem to think that they're next to Superman, I think. But yeah, a lot of things have to come together. A lot of things have to join at the right time. It's all about those meetings at the right time, isn't it? With the right person coming out with that product at the right time. You know, being around when AI starts or when the dot-com era starts or whatever it is. And if you're not around for that, then you're not going to be a billionaire. Simple as that, really. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of luck in there, mixed in with the judgment. There's a lot of luck in there, in my humble opinion. But anyway, Mr. Gary Stevenson has made a documentary. Lasts for about an hour. It's on ITV. Oh, sorry, it's not on ITV at all. It's not on ITV. It's on Channel 4. Fucking hell. Couldn't even get that right, could I? Never mind. Yeah, it's on Channel 4. So you can get it on catch up and what have you, you know. It's sitting there waiting to be looked at. It's quite interesting. It's quite obvious that Gary is no documentary maker. That is for sure. But he raises a few good points. But so do the people that he talked to, because he goes around and he talks to the people. I mean, we all know someone who's got fuck all, don't we? We all know some of them. Or we might be one of those people who's got fuck all. He was talking to people that ended up living in caravans and things at the side of the road in Bristol there. The people that used to have a flat. And one of the lads was an ambulance geezer, you know. He's one step down from a paramedic he was, so he's working shift and he's on call and all the rest of it. And he couldn't afford to pay for flat anymore, so he was living in a van. Something wrong there, isn't there? That's crazy, man. So we're not talking about lazy ass rag asses here. We're talking about normal working people who can no longer pay too. You can't pay the mortgage or can't pay the rent and pay all the bills, and pay the heating bills and pay the food bills and pay for the tax on the car and buy the car and insure the car and run the car and put petrol in the car. We all know all about it, don't we? So Gary's trying to come up with solutions for this. So he's talking to billionaires, asking them what they think about this idea for a tax that he's got. He thinks rather than tax income, you should tax wealth. So basically what you're worth. Not what comes in every year, but what you're worth. Now, in some of those instances, there was businessmen, and some of those businessmen said, well, if you introduced a 2% wealth tax on everything over 10 million quid, I would basically pack my bags and jog on. Fair enough, if that's what you want to do. Good night, Vienna. Off ski. Gary's argument was, yeah, great, but how are you going to get rid of your assets? And this particular fellow was of the mind, well, I'll just sell it all and go. I don't care. Even if I sell it at a loss, I'd go, which was a bit, to me, was a bit point of principle, he said. Point of principle. This fellow was a billionaire, by the way. Point of principle. I pay enough tax, he said. Really? While he's in his penthouse looking over the fucking Thames. Yeah, whatever. Okie dokie. With his own private elevator to his front door and what have you, fucking mental. But anyway, whatever. Yeah. So you got these people in caravans. You got the billionaire in his penthouse. And then he went to a guy. So I was, at that point, I was sort of the opinion, yeah, fuck you, mate. We'll take a few bob off you, you bastard. You can afford it. And you've got a shit attitude as well. So I don't care. And then he went off into the countryside and he knocks on this door of this huge stately home. And it's like stands on 3,000 acres and the fella owns 24 houses and he gets incomes from them and incomes from the farms and all that. But the stately home there, I mean, I'm a builder and I'm looking at this stately home and I'm thinking, Jesus, that must run into millions every year just to keep the upkeep on that thing. Like, it was huge. And this fella had a point. He's ever so posh. He was the 29th generation. I think it was 29th, could have been 28th generation, over 1,000 years that have lived in the same house. Right. And sections of the land have disappeared over the years to pay for death duties and such. Quite large sections of it. From what he showed, I would guess 600-800 acres, maybe 900 acres have disappeared over the years in death duties. So, they're paying their bit. Like, and what he said to Gary was, my house, my land, the farms and such that I own are worth about 40 million quid. And Gary said, well, in which case he said, a 2% wealth tax would mean that you would have to pay 2% on 30 million because it's anything over 10. And this guy said, yeah, now am I supposed to do that? And Gary said, well, it's 600 grand a year, extra tax. And this fella said, yeah, where am I supposed to get the money from for that? And Gary's argument was, well, sell bits of your property. Now, that was the bit where Gary lost me because I don't think that's on. I know, I'm probably getting a lot of people shouting at me now, but I just don't think that's on. That just prevents anyone from handing, it's bad enough, the death duties, but that's preventing anyone from having anything to hand on. You're destroying the land. You're destroying the keepers of the land. I mean, this land has to be looked after. If you don't think land has to be looked after, go and have a drive across Southern Ireland. Well, I was there about 15 years ago. And the land was just left to go to rack and ruin. It was sad. It was sad. It was just overgrown and a mess. The hedgerows are all wild. There's wild horses everywhere. Farmhouses are all empty. Hopefully it's changed now, but it was sad to see. So to let the land go to rack and ruin, I don't believe that's a plan. I really don't. And this fella said, well, I just don't have the income that could pay the 600 grand. So basically, you're asking me to carve up, each year you're asking me to carve a piece of my land off in order to pay this tax. He said, so I don't go along with that at all. And I don't know if Gary hadn't thought about that or he didn't give a monkey's arse about that or what. I kind of got the impression that he hadn't thought about it in that way. That's the impression I got. I could be wrong. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. So I actually felt for this old geezer. I thought, you know what, he's got a point here. Because would you, after all those generations or all that work or whatever you do to accumulate your wealth, if you didn't actually have income coming in to pay the tax, it would mean you have to keep getting rid of your assets all the time. Well, how long are you going to get rid of assets for? At 600 grand a year. You know what I mean? You're selling off an awful lot of land over 10 years. 6 million quid's worth of land. I dare say that's a huge, huge chunk of his 3,000 acres gone. And 20 years, is there any land left? And then what does he do? Then he ends up living in a wing of his house. Because, I mean, the less land he's got, the less income he's going to have. That income's going to get less and less and less, isn't it? So there was a point, there is a thing to think about in all this, there is. But I think the biggest issue was, for me, I was very pleased that Gary actually found some people that sided with him. There's actually a group of millionaires. They do have a name which escapes me at the moment. There's a group of millionaires who actually think the same way as Gary, and think to yourself, you know what, we should be handing out a bit of this wealth, man. We could afford to pay a bit more into the kitty out of what we earn. We could do. So why don't we? But certain people disagree vehemently. Wow. One of them was it Needle or Needle? He was I don't think he was an economist. I don't know if he was a tax man or what. She might have been an economist. I don't think he was. What a horrible bastard he was. He came across like he had an issue as soon as Gary walked through the door. It was odd. Yeah, it was odd. There was a few that were like that. There was a con man who was a total prick. The con man on there was a bastard. Trying to get people to sign up to this £12,000 course, and he'll tell you how to be a millionaire. Woo, yeah. Yeah, be a millionaire, but I get another fucking idiots to sign up to a £12,000 course. And then the retard says, if you pay £12,000, you get one-on-one tutoring from me. And you think, oh, well, he's a multimillionaire, like, maybe. And he goes, like the 1,000 people in this room did. Hang on a fucking minute here. How are you doing one-on-one with the 1,000 people, you stupid swat? Obviously you're not, are you? So I think that was a case of right place, right time. Or in the next 5 years, he'll find himself in fucking clink for doing something shady, because he seemed like one of them. Anyway. Yeah, so very interesting programme. Very interesting programme indeed. A documentary, Gary Stevenson, definitely worth a watch. It will open your eyes a little bit. I think it's a great shame that Gary is so invested in it, because it affects him, man. It does. Gary has had some issues and things in the past. Like, I think he takes an awful lot on board. I think he thinks he's a crusader for the planet, and he's not. And I think it's about time he took a step back before he does something that isn't very positive to himself. He just needs to take a step back and chill out, man. Great shame. Great shame. He's fighting an uphill battle. I wish people were more, maybe not accommodating to his idea, but more willing to have a discussion about his idea, rather than scream, no, 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 or you're a thick twat and you're not an economist and you don't know what you're talking about, which is pretty much what this Needle fella said. This right ignorant twat. Wasn't impressed with him at all. Baldy fella, you'll see. You'll know the bit when you get it in the documentary. You'll know the bit. But anyway, that's enough blurt from me. It is tequila night. In fact, I knew that I was getting sent in here tonight. Well, actually, I sent myself because she put that Devil Wears Prada thing on. Oh, no. And look what I found. Yes, I found the tequila cupboard. Casamigos, Reposado, down the hatch. Ooh. Lovely. Great. Stay thin.